Good evening. Will the Public Service Committee meeting of Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, please come to order. The time is 5:31. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our May 13th meeting. Were there any comments, questions, or changes to those?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our May 13th meeting.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes from May the 15th meeting have been approved. Next item is public participation. Seeing none, we'll move on to the water section here, and the first item under that is water project updates.
Okay, I'll take that.
All right.
There's a lot going on, and so I'll try to give you an overview without maybe giving a few illustrative examples of things we're working on. Starting from construction projects, moving backwards in the timeline. Culver Street is our main water construction project right now that's going on as we speak. So that'll be planned to be done here in the late fall, hopefully this calendar year. So that's going on quite nicely. Other things other than water, but that's a big factor. That's a water project. Moving back into the design phases, there's a lot going on in design right now. The one closest to construction is bulk water fill station, which is for those of you who have been following, there's a water truck filling station we built at the wastewater treatment plant. We've had an issue come up with that. We also have, in the same location, there's a looping project to construct a water loop through the airport property and connecting across 57. And so it so happens they're in the same place in one section, right there on Airport Drive. And so we've had a debate about, do we construct the airport water looping project all as one piece, or do we break out a piece of the water looping project to get that area where the waters get that all done in one physical location? And so after much debate, it looks like we're going to break out a piece of the water looping project, do all that work in the one location, be done with that, and then just continue from the east later. There's a lot of factors involved in that, but just an illustration of kind of the way the debates we have. And so that will be likely going into construction here in a couple months. The bulk water fill station does require EPA review. So once that's done, then we'll be able to bid for that. So that's just a brief update on those two projects, being the airport looping and the bulk water fill station. Another one that's going on is the design right now for the good and high water lines. We are likely going to break that into two projects, good going first. And the reason for breaking it into two projects is good will likely be a grant application for some street funds from OPWC that would make sense to be more a standalone project. And that project the paving project will probably go east to High as well, most likely. So that would be phase one, and then potentially phase two being High Street. And that timing is primarily based on when ODOT might come and pave High to make sure we beat that paving project. And as it stands now, that paving project is not imminent. So hence two phases. So that's going well. We're doing design right now on that. And then you may see some markers along High Street and Good Street. That's what those are for. One other project we're working on right now is I think I mentioned last time, there's a siting project for the low side water tower. That is, we're expecting to have a preliminary recommendation here coming in August. And then right about that same time, then we will be able to go through and send out an RFQ for the actual design of that tower. Because right now it's just the site, the location is what we're going through now, which requires the entire water model to be constructed, updated to make sure that they have the best location from the water capacity standpoint. And then once we get to that, then the construction design comes next. So that's something that we'll be following shortly thereafter. And then the last design project we have is the high rate demonstration study. There's still some discussion between our consultant and EPA when it comes to some of the details of how to go about demonstrating that we have additional capacity in our water treatment plant. So that project is still moving along, and then the next phase will be to try to test the system to see if what the deficiencies might be that would limit our capacity and then make upgrades as necessary. So those are over the next year or so. The last project to mention real quick is we have the EPA lead services, where we have to identify what lead services we have by EPA mandate, that the documentation of all the addressing, all the service lines, and all of the work that's been done. There's been a lot more than we expected, and then some of the GIS work to get that all done so that when we go out to bid, there's a list of addresses of these are the places we need to go locate. And that's just taken a while to get to that list. So that list is coming any day, so we'll be expecting to go out to a bid probably next month for the EPA project.
Shovels in the ground for the High Street water project, when will that ballpark? I know you're just doing the preliminary.
Wood Street will be next year, 26, and then High Street will likely be the year following.
Okay. I knew it was well into the next year. I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember which one was first, good or high. Okay.
So that's summary work.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on those projects? Or? Okay.
No, thank you.
Move on then to the SSO overflow.
How about the water meter improvement?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead there. Yeah, the water meter.
Thank you,
Taking that.
Mr. Chairman. We have selected a vendor for the water meter improvement project, and if you remember, the project is really about changing the endpoints or the meter interface units, which are the units that are outside the house that transmit meter reads down the line and into our software. The selected vendor was the Neptune Equipment Company. You'll often hear them called NECO, ENCO, because they're in the process of changing their name. They were the low bidder, and they were the only bidder that came in under the project budget. So we'll be meeting with them this week. We're in the process of executing the contract. The goal is to get them started this week and begin working on the meters that we've been estimating reads for, because the unit's kind of conked out because of the battery. So the good news is they can do a lot of those reads quickly, or replacements quickly. So probably within a month, they've got all of those changed out. So getting ready to start, and we anticipate starting this month.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions? All right. Then under wastewater, the wastewater project updates.
Okay, I'll cover that. I think to start with, I'll mention first, it's not only a wastewater project, but it's probably mentioning the downtown infrastructure project is kicking off again. And that's a lot of sewer and wastewater involved with that. It's just a good time to mention it. There's a stakeholder discussion meeting tomorrow, too, here. That'll be for just as a kind of a first reopening of that project. Be a lot of part of that project, a lot of sewer rehab work to be done with that. So just to mention that that's kicking off, and that design will be going on through the early 2026, and the construction for that will likely be from early 2026 through all through summer 2027, probably finishing up in the fall 2027. Quite a lengthy project. And then a couple projects that are in the early stages. I think I mentioned before, there's a wastewater master plan project that we've selected our consultant. We'll come to terms on the cost proposal. We'll just have to finalize the contract for that. That will help us to prepare both a capital plan for knowing really where we should be spending money on projects, and also help us with development projects to know the best way to serve these vacant areas that, as we see annexations. So those two benefits will come from that plan as that gets done, which is kicking off. And then the other thing I mentioned before is this lid replacement, which sounds simple, but it's not. And that similarly, we've come to terms with scope, and so now we're waiting for final estimate, final proposal for cost and final agreements and stuff like that. So we're in that proposal phase, and the design will be starting in June. So those tours are moving along also. I think that's a good summary of the wastewater projects. And then moving on to the SSO program, the next item here. that, just very briefly, it may help you to know a couple terms with the program to just make sure it's clear. There's two elements of SSOs sent to certain two causes. One of them is from rooftops and catch basins that go into our sewer mains. Those are called direct inflow. And then the second part is the leaky pipes that the infiltration comes into the pipe. And so when you hear terms, we do smoke and dye testing, for example, and you'll see that here. The smoke and dye testing is the first step of the direct inflow to figure out where those inflow points are. And so the smoke and dye testing is part of the SSO program. And then once we determine that, we will need to take those results and figure out where those inflow locations are. And then the design process is to reconnect those. If it's a catch basin that's going into a sewer, it needs to be relocated into a storm. And so then there's a lot of reasons for some of the survey locations. See, the survey right now is going on out in the area. It's to go identify some of those items as to where those direct inflow locations might be, and to figure out where they may be relocated. So that's much of the part of that SSO design process that you may have seen. And then the other part of it is then the leaking pipes. There's a TV inspection this time. So the TV inspection goes through the pipes and looks at that, and then the consultants analyze those and then figure out where to put lining to solidify those pipes. In some cases, you can't line them because they're in such bad shape, so there's what's called point repairs. So those are terms you may hear in this program. And so right now there's a so just the other term you may hear. There's 10 areas I think I mentioned before. So there's 10 geographic areas. I actually have a map with me that shows them that are all through kind of like congressional boundaries. They don't make any sense. It makes sense to somebody. So right now, for example, the lining and rehabilitation. So there's a lining project for 2, 3, and 5 is the areas that those are wrapping up right now and nearly done. And then we have a project for design that's for the direct inflow for 2, 3, 5, 7, and 10 are going on as we speak. And also they're feeding parts of 7 and 10 are downtown infrastructure. And so the 7 and 10 portions for downtown infrastructure are being done more on a priority basis, so that that information will be given to the contractor who's doing the downtown infrastructure. So see how the program is
intertwined.
Is pieces and parts. So I just want to make sure you kind of know as the flow happens. And this is a 15-year program. And so as you start to hear these things, it just is ongoing. There's 10 areas. Each one has 3 steps. The smoke testing, design, construction, the TV, lining, design, construction. So there's 3 phases, 2 types, 10 areas, a lot going on. So just to give you an illustration of where we are. So as of now, the design process right now, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 is being designed right now, and then we're finishing up some of the construction for the lining for 2, 3, and 5. So just a broad brush as to where we are. Good progress.
Before we move on, have we been able to use any of the red zone information that we spent millions of dollars for about 5 years ago? This question's been asked several times.
Yes, the TV, that information.
The red zone,
is what's being analyzed to decide where to line and point repair. 2, 3, 5,
so we're not re-televising everything or anything like that. We are using the red zone information.
I believe they may have been doing some spot ones where they need some better data.
Okay.
It was old, but that was given to the consultant.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last thing for that is that the funding for the current design project has been applied to EPA for some funding for that, which has been submitted, but I haven't heard back from any sort of feedback yet. So a lot of information, but I just thought it would help you to have a picture of, to demystify some of that detail. So that's it.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Davis, tell the committee what areas will be doing smoke and dye testing currently requested legislation.
So the legislation before you is smoke and die testing for Area 6 and 8. And that's based on EPA has given us hard deadlines, very specific to each area, and the next one that's due is 6 and 8. And there was a question about how many readings. I think I believe 2 readings would be appropriate for this.
Say 2, okay.
And once we're past here, then we'll go to find a contractor to go start that smoke and die testing process, which is then ultimately will result in a design of where these direct inflows will be relocated to out of the sewer system.
So this is just legislation for, again, like you said, section 6 and 8. This is the same thing that we did in the previous sections. This is like phase 2 of the process here. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions on the legislation then? And we're going to make a motion to go ahead and.
I'll make a motion to move the ordinance to council authorizing the Director of Public Service to negotiate and enter into an agreement for smoke and die testing services for the sanitary sewer overflow SSO remediation program for sections areas 6 and 8 with a project cost not to exceed $155,000.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move that forward with recommendation on two readings then. Okay, all right. Anything else under wastewater that we need to touch on here? Good, all right. Stormwater, anything other than the next meeting date of July the 8th?
No, nothing
All right.
added.
Then under electric, first item on there is update on the charging station.
Yeah,
It's been turned on since the last meeting.
Yep,
so.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, it's been a while that we've been talking about getting the EV charging station commissioned. It is up and running. It's been up and running for about 2 weeks. At this point in time, it's been used 17 times. All 17 uses were one or the other of the level 2 standard chargers. It's brought in gross revenue of about $118. $100 of that the city keeps. The other 18 goes to the manufacturer for credit card fees and basically for software on that. The average fee for charging has been $6.94. So it's off to a reasonable start. Part of what we're doing is, going to monitor it for the first 3 months to see what the usage looks like, and then I will bring back for council's consideration the idea of do we want to explore adjustments to the rate. One other thing, and I just found this out today, is that there is a possibility that NOACA will pay to extend the 2-year basic warranty to a 5-year basic warranty. They're having a meeting on Friday to go over that, but if that were the case, it would be worth about $7,000 to us. The basic warranty, if you remember, is basically if anything breaks down, it would be covered. Right now, we're covered with the 2-year basic warranty. This would extend it to 5 years. The more expensive or fancier warranty basically covered the same things, but also if somebody were to back into it or damage it that way, we didn't feel that was necessary because that's why we have other insurance for that. So we're off to a start, and it's generated $100 for us. That means it's basically used 118 kilowatt hours of electricity thus far.
What's again in this world a little bit new to me? What's the average time that the people spent there? Do you have those?
Yeah.
And if not, I'm just curious. I thought maybe it came in on the report. That $6. What is that? How long is somebody? Since these are the slow chargers.
Yeah. Mr. Stugmeyer, I'll have to look at.
That's fine. I'm just curious.
It's text-based, but I will get you guys an answer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the charging station there? That's good news, though. If they do extend that warranty, that would make a little,
would be a value to us.
little better, easier decision on any kind of rate adjustments of what we might be able to do with the liability there. All right. Next item up, I believe, Mr. Morris, you're going to take this, the Eco Smart Choice Program.
Sure. Back in May, we had a discussion about the Eco Smart Choice Program. I always try to start with the problem we're trying to solve so that we can see if we're actually going to solve it. The problem we have is not our problem, but it's some of our customers' problem is they want to become 100% green, at least for purposes of reporting, for the European New Deal. In order to do that, a program is available through AMP that would allow them to pay extra to us to get certifications through the REC, the REC program, or the Green Energy Credit Program. And this legislation would help create that program. We could then expand that program to other people who have called about it, other than just the European companies that are here located in Wadsworth, at no cost to us. We'd have to determine the additional cost above what the AMP pays, and that would be a direct cost to the customer, so it doesn't cost us anything. So if you were to pass that legislation, then the program would be created, the pushing it out so everybody would know about it would be created, and that would be over a period of time, starting with the European companies and then opening up if we see the need to it. You wanted to see the contract, you wanted to see the legislation, both of those have been presented to you, I believe. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you have about the program, the contract, or the legislation.
Would you go into a little more detail on Exhibit B with the $5,000 when the amount equals to or exceeding $5,000? How that is, it's on page 12. In Section 1 and Section 3. I'm a little confused here. If the program revenues exceed program expenses for the previous calendar year by an amount equal to or exceeding $5,000, AMP will designate the available excess revenue for sustainability grants. I thought you told us that any money that was collected above and beyond the 4 cents stayed with the city.
4/10 of a cent.
4/10 of a cent, I'm sorry.
4/10 of a cent is the amount that we would get a bill for, and that's what the first part of the contract talks about. We get a bill for the 4 cents, and then anything over that would be billed, we would receive. So let me read it out, but I haven't read this in a...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just confused. I mean, when I got to Exhibit B about these grants, because they could award the grants for weatherization improvements to public buildings, supporting local charities, okay? I get energy and environmental education program in schools, but economic development activities,
I think these
they're
are...
not merit-based. I mean, this is on page 13 I'm at now. Just this whole Exhibit B thing's kind of confusing, I think.
Let me do this. Let me write it up for you and analyze it.
Okay.
For me, what my first initial blush is this is their profits, not our profits. So this is the amount of money they receive in excess, and if they get over...
If they go over $5,000 of the cost, then they have to do something with
and I
it.
don't think that applies to us, but I want to make sure that...
Yeah, please.
So let me review that, and if you were so kind to put it on the legislation, if you're uncomfortable at that point at committee of the whole, I can answer it there.
Okay.
But if not, then we can...
Yeah, I'd just like to have that answered before we go, too far with it. So,
Right.
Happy to do that.
thank you.
Sounds good then. No other questions on that. We want to move that forward then.
Okay. An ordinance approving participation in the EcoSmart Choice Program, providing for corresponding electric system rates and requirements and declaring an emergency. And I'd like to see this go 3 readings, give him time to get answers and stuff like that
Yeah,
there.
there's no push for it. I'm
Yeah.
not hearing anything. This is something I've heard last year about this request for it. There hasn't been a push recently on this.
Okay.
So we got to set up the program down here in electric as well. I want to make sure they're comfortable with
Yeah.
it before we roll it out. So 3 readings, there's no
3
problem.
readings, be no problem.
Okay, all right.
Second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move that with a recommendation for 3 readings so we get it all set up and everything internally. All right, sounds good. Next item on the agenda is the fiber update project under CityLink.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We continue to make solid progress in the aerial fiber placement, splicing, and expanding our services. We have about 2,500 homes ready for service, 775 homes now installed. 450 of those homes have streaming TV. We've got 500 additional drop connections completed, meaning the work on the outside part of the installation is been done. And we've got about 450 homes that are now, we're going through the process of getting scheduled. Recent work, lateral lines along Silver Creek and Wall, Chardonnay, Nelson, splicing work, Brixton, Brentfield, we've added a very large, tall, temporary pole in the middle of Tiburon, and that is basically going to house the wireless solution that feeds all of the individual wireless setups in everybody's yard while they're being transferred over because it's an underground neighborhood. Or over the next couple of weeks, we'll see work along State Road, feeding Cherry Hill Drive. Testing will occur on, we'll complete the splicing, and testing will occur on Reimer from Ridge to Sharon and the connected laterals in that area. Testing on Good, Orchard, Valley View, Longview, West, and Grouse. Finish some installations in Blooming Acres. We've actually added about 21 new customers just in that development, which is a higher percentage. You know, if you're looking at the number of customers there now, I think in our projections we were saying 7.5%. This would be closer to 10%.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the fiber? All right, next up is the cable rate increase.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recently, we proposed to the Cable Commission a rate increase for cable television services. The proposed rates, as well as a summary of the justification, is included in the handout. But you know, the simplest way to describe it is that, you know, we've not increased rates since 2018. And part of that really has been designed to keep prices low. But we've seen a pretty significant increase in content costs. I think overall they're up about 175%. And in fact, the cost of content is one of our largest single line items in the budget, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 million. The fiber project allows us to do all of this work and beef up speeds and maintain lower pricing, basically because it reduces the cost of content. So the prices that are before you are basically bringing us pretty close to covering our costs. So the increase in the basic rate to 36, that puts us at roughly where our content costs are. The mid-tier, which is our most populous package, we'd still be losing some money there. The increase would take us to 99. The cost of that content for that package is 113. And on the our high end, or the premium package, excuse me, we'd be moving to a price of 119. The cost of content's like 121.56. The reason we are not covering the full cost of those is because, you know, we don't want to push somebody away that's a customer right now, because cable's going to be, it's on its way out. Over the next couple of years, we'll be done most likely with all cable television, and it's being replaced with more affordable and a better deal with the streaming products. So the idea was to stem some of the bleeding that we're experiencing on the short-term basis and switch people over to streaming as we go. Now, one nice thing is that even though we don't have fiber build out throughout the city, we're still able to install a streaming package, or just the streaming piece of that in people's homes. So if they want to switch over from cable now and take advantage of, you know, lower package pricing or something along those lines, they would be able to do that. My understanding is there would not be any performance issues, but obviously when we've got everybody on streaming, it's going to require the fiber backbone, because that's got considerably more capacity and higher speed, so it could handle a lot of traffic without any performance hiccups. The rate increase would be, is projected, or would be proposed to begin in August of this year. It's fine if this were to go 3 readings. You know, the basis of this is basically just reducing our losses as we're transitioning away from cable to the streaming product.
What are our losses and how much are we subsidizing the system right now? I mean, that's important because we are moving to streaming or internet usage, so instead of cable, so.
Yep, right now, well, Mr. Parrish, let me run the numbers. I can tell you that we're losing about $9 on the basic. We're losing what would be about 28 on the middle package, and what would be on the premium package, we'd be losing. Let's see, we'd actually be at maybe 8 or 10. The additional revenue, and you know, we're going to see a decrease in cable subscribers each month as the project continues. But I can tell you that our projection with the current subscriber base is that would generate approximately $32,200 of additional revenue.
Would it be safe to assume that we're 32,000 plus in the subsidy part? I mean, would that make sense?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's reducing our losses by
Okay.
32.
Could you follow that up in 3 months, well, let's say 6 months, Christmas time, and tell us how much that's changed and if we're still subsidizing it to a certain degree?
Okay.
And 6 months would be a fair amount of time.
Yeah, and just, you know, to be clear, so, you know, we're either going to be subsidizing it where we're at now or a little more if content costs go up. So we're not changing, you know, this would be a one-time price change, and it'd be based on what the content costs are now. But, you know, part of the problem is that, you know, there's literally dozens of channels that get bundled into a package, and it's pretty typical that every one of those channels will raise their rates at least once every 3 years. So it's a little bit of a moving target, but you know, again, the quantity of people, the quantity of accounts that we would be losing money on is decreasing at the same time that we're reducing the amount of loss per account. But I'll be able to report, what are the subscriber counts look like, and what's the current cost versus the prices, and
Yeah, where we're at subsidizing and see if we need to make the adjustments.
okay.
Or maybe push people more to stream it, whatever we have to do.
Okay.
One of the things that concerns me when I went through this is the fact that we're charging the same inside the city as outside the city. Now, I mean, I don't think,
About that,
it's been mentioned
we've
since
talked
I've been
about
on
that,
council
yeah.
probably 4 or 5 times, okay? And, I mean, before we do rate increases, I think now is the time to address that. I mean, the cost to provide cable outside of the city is greater because of the miles of runs of cable and stuff. Now we're running fiber out in the township, okay? I think there should be a separation here. I mean, because there is some tax dollars help to pay wages and stuff like that. I mean, it's not all subsidized just by the, you know,
Yep, I got you.
by the billing,
yeah, we've talked about that, you're right.
you know? And I think now's the time to address that.
And well, maybe it was EMS and so forth, I'm thinking
Yeah,
more the more
yeah.
recent one, but yes.
But this has come up 3 or 4 times since, I mean, in the last 12 years, and it's just never got addressed. We just keep, you know, kicking the can down the
And
road.
we've done something similar where we adjusted the rates for residents and non-residents, for example, for the trail house. So let me
I think we need to take a
get
look
with our
at it.
guys and come up with an alternative proposal that would show what those rates might look like if we were to separate the two.
See, because I think you're going to find that there's going to be more cable kept out in the township areas if we don't get fiber to all those places. You know, we should be concentrating on our residents, our backbone, and not surrounding us.
What is the township's availability of another cable company? Do they have that same abilities, or are they stuck with only one?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr.
I think it's the same.
I think it's variable based upon where in the township you are.
Township, yeah.
There is some access on the northern side
Yeah,
of the township.
but not in the south.
But not on the southern side.
Okay.
kind of thing. Mr. Cobb, excellent point and question for discussion, and I'll be frank with the committee. When Mr. Testa brought to me the proposed changes, I asked a question from the standpoint of why would we allow ourselves to continue to be in the negative when we're asking our
Yes.
board to level the playing field and do that? Knowing a little bit about the business with content costs, drivers, and some of those variables. And I think it was important, and Mr. Testa did a nice job in his explanation to me about, hey, you know, we need to think at a macro level here, not just about the proposal and what the costs are today, but what our business strategy is in this enterprise operation. And that is not to alienate by raising rates now on whether it be folks within the city or outside the city as one, because our hope is to capture those customers with our streaming product in the end, when we're ready, built out, and have all those capabilities. So as we all know, in our own homes, when we get a proposal that is forced upon us, we do look elsewhere to see what is competitive and what is going to work best for our own budgets. And I now realize that my blanket attempt to say, hey, let's stop taking a loss and subsidizing this enterprise. Let's set the rates that would recover our actual costs, or as best as we know those now. And that probably isn't our best strategy right now to do that across the board. And that's why you see, and as Mr. Testa has explained to you, some of the rate proposals, even with the increase, will still not cover our cost of content there. However, Mr. Copley, your point is well taken, that if we'd like to get to a point where we're not taking a loss, Mr. Parrish, using your terms, subsidizing the enterprise a little bit more, maybe we should propose to you, and we will bring back some information. We'll talk with our folks at CityLink and make sure that they're on board to understand it, where we put together a dual rate proposal based upon geographic zone, if you will. And that might help us to achieve what I was trying to do, which was get us back to a non-subsidy level, or get us close to where we're still engaging customers and hopefully capturing them for the long term when we're fully built out, but we're being fair to our taxpayers, our residents, versus those who are still important to us in the enterprise.
I'm not saying they're not important,
but perhaps paying their fair share
Yeah.
of the rate as we go. So we can do that. It's an excellent point. It might be able to achieve what I was trying to achieve by looking at it that way. Appreciate it.
And the build-out is about 2 years, would we say?
Well, the total, so the project
I can't remember.
estimate is 3 years,
3
but
years.
the installation piece lags by 6 months.
Okay.
So it's, you know, installations start 6 months into because construction needs to get
Right.
going. So when the build-out finishes, there'll still be, you know, another 6 months probably of installations, maybe more depending on how many customers we're adding, if we're picking up a lot
I
more.
was just looking at the time period where before we could maybe break even or not have to work at it this
Yeah.
way, look at it this way.
Well, that's definitely, you know, a priority for the project is moving people as quickly as we can to streaming, because that, you know, they get more for their money, and, you know, we become, it's more sustainable for us. I will also mention one other thing about the rates. Part of the reason that the rates that were chosen were selected is because there's kind of like that psychological break point between 99 and 100 and 119 and 120. So we were trying to maximize the increase with still, you know, not kind of crossing those thresholds.
that's business.
Yeah, yeah. So everything's $9.99.
Marketing.
Yeah.
And I know the one thing that's in the legislation too that is because it's new, is the streaming tier prices.
It is, yes. So there wasn't anything in there. So.
Right. Now, with the, and again, this will, as everybody starts to get into it, will be explained, but for example, I mean, when you look at what's there now, I mean, it's like a menu at a restaurant. There's so many a la carte items on the cable side, you could run up a pretty good amount. When I see the streaming numbers here, there's basic, core plus, and premium. So basically, then, is it true then, for example, like our digital and HD tier service for $119, under streaming, you would even get more for $110 under the premium?
Yeah,
Is that?
you know, I don't have the channel lineup, but that, you know, the premium package basically includes, I want to say, 25 or 30.
29
It
movies.
says
Yeah.
29 here,
Yes,
right,
and that's
okay.
all bundled together. And part of that is, we've been intentional about trying to bundle things so there's, less confusion, no hidden fees, and not just, to be nice to our residents, but we believe that's a real legitimate marketing advantage because even though, there have been changes at the federal level that require certain disclosures, you're still, even with the disclosures, are, allowed to post your big number and then, and this and this and this, and we've chosen not to do that. So, the numbers that, we're proposing and that have been proposed are basically inclusive of those other costs. So, it's intentional to simplify and bundle those items together.
Okay, good, all right. So again, then that's good to know, then it will get more information out that once these rates go into effect, people can switch over to streaming even with their current cable and take advantage of these rates then,
Yes,
of the streaming rates before even the fiber is installed.
correct.
They can. One of the points that Mr. Testa made to the committee, and it's something that's we're doing, we don't believe that those customers will see buffering or impacts of services, but
If yeah,
if everyone came over at
Right.
the same time, I think that those
Could definitely
on
happen.
cable still, before we have the capacity to provide them
Right. Yep.
Fiber, might, and we're trying to avoid that.
Okay,
We
right.
don't want, that's a surefire way to
Lose
customers,
people,
and that would be a poor business practice on our.
which is another reason to kind of ease into the prices as well, to kind of keep everybody from jumping ship initially and kind of balance everything involved with the rate increases.
You are correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, good, all right, thank you. Any further questions on that then? Okay, we'll need a motion to go ahead well, do we want to go ahead and we just want to wait until we get those other, or
Yeah,
we'll just wait until we do that, okay.
Proposal.
Instead of changing
Bring
it then,
back
all right.
Next month.
Okay, we'll hang on to that then, all right. Anything, do you want to talk anything about any of the electric departments or subscriber updates? It's all in the report here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for doing those reports, too. Those are informative.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you guys, and
Yeah.
I know that just going through a million things, we're going to miss, it's just easier when you guys have time to look at it and formulate questions and stuff, so I'm
So
glad to
much
do that.
easier sitting at home and reclining.
It is, yep.
Well, it's much like the reports that, Mr. Hiscock sent out late on Sunday evenings. Those were great references. I mean, you could, those until the next one came out,
A little bit of transition happening in my life.
Yeah, we noticed your nameplate was a little bit lighter tonight than again, so, all right, well, all right. Is there anything else from the committee? Anything else from administration? All right, our next meeting is scheduled for July the 8th, 5:30 p.m. here in council chambers. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
It is 6:14.
Mike, welcome. We have
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.